Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Let me introduce myself. My name is Adarif Kadrian and I'm from group 5 that discuss about American society in the period of modernism. So I hope you guys enjoy the video and this is the explanation from my group. The United States set many of its 19th century styles, tradition, and beliefs as it entered the modern era. America in 19th century was vastly different from the rural, farm-based economy populated largely by Anglo-Saxons of 100 years before. The country was becoming increasingly urbanized and its cities were filling with immigrants from nations around the world. Other significant changes affected America's lifestyle and social trends. Technological inventions such as the automobile and the airplane improved the transportation and made travel more available and affordable. The average citizen mass production of cars in the early 19th brought the United States into the automobile age, which had a profound impact on the culture for decades. The motion picture industry was gradually being developed as well, and within the decade, America was captivated by this new mode of entertainment. Advances were also made in radio transmission. Furthermore, the American home became filled with such new appliances as the electric light, icebox, phonograph, telephone, and the vacuum cleaner. So that's all the explanation from me. If there's some mistake, is only from me, and if there's some good thing, is only from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And thank you for the attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Rosalina Temega Sidampang, and today I will continue the matter. American styles and fashion also evolved as Victorian formalism slowly gave way to more modern style of dress, architecture, furniture, and interior design. Women inspired by the popular magazine is an illustration of the Gibson girl as the representation of the new modern female began to wear more fashionable clothes. The growth of department stores and national catalogs allowed style to be regular across to the country. Frank Lloyd Wright revolution of the field of architecture with his fluid use of space, natural light, and environment-friendly designs. The arts and crafts movement spread from Europe to some sections of America during this period. Soon, many homes were showcasing fine handcraft, finishing, and exotic style. Although some Americans were reluctant to embracing modernism and its emphasis on all things new and contemporary, many others come to recognize the costumes, styles, and tastes of the Victorian period as being totally outdated. Thank you very much.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Syahyan Fitri Milania, and now I want to explain about the American modernism literature. American modernist literature was a dominant trend in American literature between World War I and World War II. Influenced by worldwide industrialization and the First World War, literary modernism was an emotional and experimental style of prose and poetry that occurred in the late 19th and early 20th century literature. The main genres of modernist literature include novels, poems, diaries, among other forms. This period in literature involved a lot of broken traditions, so the writing style came in many forms. There are 5 main characteristics of modernist literature. The first one is individualism. In modernist literature, the individual is more interesting than society. Especially, modernist writers were fascinated with how the individual adapted to the changing world. The second one is experimentation. Modernist writers broke free of old forms and techniques. Poets abandoned traditional rhyme and themes and wrote in free verse. Novelists defied all expectations. Writers mixed images from the past with modern language and themes, creating a collage of styles. The inner workings of consciousness were a common subject of modernists. Well, that's for my explanation. The next explanation will be presented by my friends. Thank you.
My name is Hayati, and now I will continue the material. So the third is the absurdity. The connect of the war was profoundly affected writers of the period. For many writers, the world was becoming a more absurd place every day. The mysteriousness of life was being lost in the rush of daily life. Modernist authors depicted this absurdity in their works. The fourth is symbolism. The modernist writers instruct object, people, place, and even with significant meanings. They imagine a reality with multiplayer place and events. Many of them hidden or in symbolism. Many of them hidden or in sort of code. The idea of poem such as a riddle to be cracked has a beginning in the modernist period, and the last is the formalism. Writers of the modernist period saw literature more as a craft than a flowering creativity. They believed that the poems and novels were a construct from a small part in the organic internal process that earlier generation has described. So, literary modernists allowed the experts allow writers to express themselves in the experimental ways than in the past. Modernist works often contain non-linear narratives and free following interest monologues that emphasize in the experience and emotion of the individual. A writer of modernist literature and their work like Franz Kafka's The Metamorphoses, the Lawrence Woman in Love, Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway, T.S. The Westland, Gertrude Stein's Tender Buttons, William Carlos Williams, The Young's Housewife, and etc. I think that's all. Thanks for attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Well, now I want to explain about the famous literary work in Modernism era. One of the famous literary works in Modernism era is a poem by T.S. Eliot. The Wasteland is a poem by T.S. Eliot, widely regarded as one of the most important poems of the 20th century and a central work of modernist poetry. The poem is divided into 5 sections. The first one is The Burial of the Dead, introduces the diverse themes of disillusionment and despair. The second one is A Game of Chess, employs alternating narrations in which vignettes of several characters address those themes experientially. The third section is The Fire Sermon, offers a philosophical meditation in relation to the imagery of death and views of self-denial in juxtaposition influenced by Augustine of Hippo and Eastern religions. The fourth section is Death by Water, which includes a brief lyrical petition. The culminating fifth section is What the Thunder Said, concludes with an image of judgment. T.S. Eliot's poem describes a mood of deep disillusionment stemming both from the collective experience of the First World War and from Eliot's personal travails. Yet, the poem seems to his contemporaries to transcend Eliot's personal situation and represent a general crisis in Western culture. One of its major themes is the bareness of a post-World War in which human sexuality has been perverted from its normal course. And the natural world too has become infertile. Well, that's all for my explanation. Thank you so much.